What do you get when you mix rock's most unpredictable legend with a group of chimpanzees and a few buckets of paint? You might think it's a prank, a meme, some weird-eye-generated fever dream. But no, this is real. At 76 years old, Ozzy Osbourne has officially launched what might be the strangest project of his entire career. He's auctioning off a collection of bizarre, abstract paintings that he claims were made in collaboration with real, living primates. And he's doing it while holding a banana, smirking like he knows something the rest of us don't. The announcement hit social media like a grenade. Some fans were thrilled, others were horrified, and most people, they were just confused. Why? Is the Prince of Darkness teaming up with chimpanzees to make art? Why now? And what does this have to do with his farewell concert, his new memoir, and the health issues he's been hiding for years? Because here's the thing no one's talking about. This isn't just a random charity stunt. It's part of something bigger, a final act, a coded message hidden beneath the chaos. And once you connect all the dots, you'll realize Oz is not just saying goodbye, he's making sure we never forget him. Id started with a post. No press release, no grand reveal, just Ozzy Osbourne standing in front of 5 strange paintings, holding a peeled banana and smiling like he'd just pulled off the biggest prank of his life. In the caption, he casually dropped the bombshell. These weren't just any paintings. They were made in collaboration with chimpanzees from a Florida sanctuary called Save the Chimps, and now they were up for auction. The internet didn't know what to do with it. Was this performance art? A midlife crisis that hit decades late? Or just classic Ozzy chaotic, weird, and weirdly brilliant? Each of the 5 paintings was signed and named after one of his songs, as if to remind us that yes, this was still his work, even if it involved actual ape hands, and the most surreal part, it wasn't even for profit. All proceeds would go to the chimp sanctuary, helping rescue and rehabilitate apes who had been used for experiments, entertainment, or abandoned by their owners. Suddenly, what looked like a bizarre publicity stunt started to feel like something deeper. But if you think the art collab is strange, wait until you see what Ozzy did just days before that left fans in tears. Just 5 days before the chimp art announcement, Ozzy Osbourne took the stage one last time for what's now confirmed as his final live performance ever. It wasn't just any concert, it was a full circle moment called Back to the Beginning, held in Birmingham, the very place where Black Sabbath was born. Fans from all over the world tuned in as Ozzy reunited with the original Sabbath lineup, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and even drummer Bill Ward, who hadn't performed with them in years. Ozzy, seated on a gothic black throne due to his declining health, belted out classics for a roaring crowd of nearly 40,000. And just like that, decades of chaos, controversy, and music history came to a close in one epic night. But here's the part that raised eyebrows: the timing. A final concert, a memoir about his darkest moments, and now an art auction with chimps? It didn't feel random, it felt planned. Like Ozzy had been quietly arranging his exit in pieces. One performance, one painting, one unexpected reveal at a time, and if the farewell show was emotional, the next move would leave fans questioning everything about Oz's legacy. At first, the paintings seemed like a joke, but the more people looked at them and the more they heard Ozzy speak, the more it started to feel like this was something personal, symbolic, almost emotional. Ozzy isn't the same man who once bit the head off a bat on stage. In recent years, his body has been breaking down in ways he can no longer hide. A brutal finger infection in 2017 spiraled into a spinal injury that left him nearly paralyzed. Then came the Parkinson's diagnosis, tour cancellations, long hospital stays, quiet exits from the spotlight, but he never begged for sympathy. Instead, he created something weird, unexplainable, wild. Just like he always has, every painting in this collection is named after one of his own songs, as if each canvas is a goodbye letter disguised in madness. And when you realize that these chimpanzees he collaborated with are survivors, 2 animals discarded, mistreated, silenced, it suddenly feels like Ozzy sees himself in them. He's not just making art for fun, he's making a statement. A final one, but then came the book, and what Ozzy revealed in its pages made the whole story even more intense. As fans tried to make sense of the chimpanzee art, Ozzy dropped another bombshell, a brand new memoir titled Last Rites, set to release October 7th. And this one doesn't hold back. Unlike his earlier books, Last Rites isn't about the crazy tours or out-of-control parties. This one's different. It's about everything that came after the chaos, the pain, the regrets, the isolation, and the feeling of slowly slipping away from the spotlight. It's raw, it's final, and in his own words, it's a glimpse into what he calls his descent into hell. Ozzy opens up about the moment his body started betraying him, and how he tried to fight back. The infections, the surgeries, the Parkinson's, and the overwhelming fear that the world would only remember him for the madness, not the music. But what hits hardest is his refusal to apologize for any of it. If I'd been clean and sober, he writes, I wouldn't be Ozzy. If I'd done normal, sensible things, I wouldn't be me. It's not just a book, it's a declaration. A refusal to let anyone rewrite his story, even as he writes his final chapter himself. But while fans were still digesting his words, one question kept coming up: why chimps? Why art? And why now? At first glance, Ozzy's chimpanzee art collab looked like classic rock star chaos, messy, absurd, and headline-grabbing. But if you dig just a little deeper, you'll see something more powerful hiding behind the paint splatters. The chimps Ozzy worked with aren't performers or pets, they're survivors, rescued from laboratories, abusive owners, or the entertainment industry. These animals live at Save the Chimps, a sanctuary in Florida that helps them heal and find peace. They're given space, community, and surprisingly, tools to create art as therapy. These aren't random brushstrokes, they're expressions of life after trauma, and that's where the connection to Ozzy becomes impossible to ignore. Ozzy has lived through decades of damage, most of it self-inflicted, but all of it real. He's been used, judged, mocked, and dismissed. And just like the chimps, he's been through hell and somehow made it out the other side with scars and stories to show for it. This art project isn't just quirky, it's symbolic. It's a statement about freedom, about chaos, about survival. And it might just be Ozzy's most honest work yet, but not everyone sees it that way, and what fans said next had the internet divided. The second Ozzy's chimp collab hit social media, it exploded, and not in a quiet way. Some fans called it genius. Others thought he'd finally lost his mind. Twitter was flooded with memes of Ozzy holding a banana like a trophy, standing proudly beside what looked like finger-painted chaos. Comments ranged from "only Ozzy would do this" to "bro needs a nap" and "a conservator," but beneath the jokes, something interesting happened. People started asking why it resonated. Was this just a stunt? Or was it a bizarre form of legacy building? One final message wrapped in paint, madness, and metaphor. Critics were torn too. Some saw it as an empty publicity move timed perfectly after his farewell concert. Others argued it was a powerful moment of vulnerability, Ozzy opening up in the only way he knows how, loud, weird, and unforgettable, and in the middle of it all, Ozzy stayed silent. No follow-up explanation. No interviews, just the paintings, the banana, and the clock ticking on the auction countdown, because for Ozzy, this wasn't about making sense, it was about making a statement. And his final message was about to hit even harder. Behind the art, the concert, and the memoir is a man who knows his time on stage is running out. But Ozzy Osbourne was never going to fade away quietly. That's never been his style. He's leaving his mark not with a greatest hits album or a teary farewell tour, but through something messy, strange, and deeply personal, a final creative explosion that makes no sense on the surface, but speaks volumes underneath. It's chaotic, it's vulnerable, it's raw, and it's so Ozzy. In a quiet moment buried in his book, he says something that hits harder than any lyric ever could. Look, if it ends tomorrow, I can't complain. I've done good, and I've done bad. But right now, I'm not ready to go anywhere. That one line captures everything this project is about. He's not trying to clean up his legacy. He's not trying to be normal. He's doing what he's always done, expressing what he feels, no matter how insane it looks to the outside world, and in the end, maybe painting with chimps, staging a final concert, and writing one last book is his way of saying goodbye without actually saying it. Ozzy Osbourne has never played by the rules, not in music, not in life, and definitely not now. While most celebrities quietly bow out with a press tour and a smile, Ozzy chose to go out with chaos, confusion, and paint-covered chimpanzees, and somehow, it makes perfect sense. This final chapter, a farewell concert, a brutally honest memoir, and a bizarre art collab with apes isn't a meltdown. It's a message. He's showing us what legacy really means. Not perfection, not control, but truth. Raw, messy, and unforgettable. So whether you see it as madness or brilliance. One thing's clear, Ozzy Osbourne isn't just ending his career. He's ending it on his own terms. Loud, weird, and impossible to ignore. Just like he started.